Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome to another Character Spotlight. Though this is going to be a really quick one since, doing research on this character didn't really take much. As for who that's going to be, well, we're continuing the Garfield train. But instead of talking about Garfield himself or the usual supporting cast, I decided to talk about a character who is Garfield but also not Garfield. No, not Heathcliff. No, I'm talking about Garzooka. Now, Garzooka, as you can tell here, is Garfield, but instead of just simply being Garfield magically turned to a superhero, Garzooka was actually created to be sort of Garfield's Duck Dodgers, an alternate universe version of the character who goes on more action-packed adventures, while still keeping the comedic elements. Now, I actually couldn't really find a reason why Jim Davis created this character, along with his superhero team, Pet Force, but the safe bet being that it was to ride the popularity of the superhero parodies, like The Tick, The Flaming Carrot, and The Mystery Men. Though in this case, he's more a parody of cosmic heroes, like the Thundercats, the Galaxy Trio, and Space Ghost. In fact, the latter might actually be the most accurate since a lot of the foes he faces off against are very similar to what kind of villain Space Ghost would usually fight, like space pirates, witches, and of course cosmic conquerors, though with more comedic twists, though some people usually think Space Ghost enemies are already comedic thanks to Space Ghost, which is still an amazing show. And Biz, you should be talking about Garzooka. Yeah, and usually dumpster dive for ham scraps, you 6 feet chicken McNobody. Wow, I am sorry. I do not know where that came from. Anyway, yeah, moving on. Instead of comics, Garzooka actually first appeared in children's novels. Garfield's Pet Force, a 5-book series that told the adventures of Garzooka, a hungry space hero, quite literally, defending the universe with his team, the Pet Force. Besides the standard super strength and flight, he had razor-sharp claws that could cut through solid steel and cough up irradiated hairballs. Personality-wise, he was a much more heroic version of Garfield, who defended the galaxy and his home planet of Palester very proudly. Though not saying that he was totally different from Garfield. Again, dude was pretty gluttonous and he did have his moments of being pretty lazy. And he had his limits when it came to some of his teammates, like Odious, the Pet Force version of Odie, and Abnormal, which was, well, normal. I'm actually kind of surprised that Normal wasn't a villain, since in a lot of Garfield stories, he's usually seen as an antagonistic character, and even a bit of his planet's emperor, John. A kind-hearted emperor, but unfortunately not the brightest, especially when it came to one of Garzooka's enemies, the sorceress / evil vet, Vetfix, who was a supervillain version of Liz, Garfield's vet. Now, unfortunately, I didn't read all of the Pet Force novels, but I did read several of them as a kid, with my favorite actually being the second story of the series, Pirate's Revenge, a story where Garzooka actually gets manipulated to wear a magical amulet that takes over his mind, leading the Pet Force to fight their leader and try to break the spell in a way that I will not spoil because it's a little funny. The novels would do such a great job that after it wrapped up, the Pet Force would make it to comics, starting with the pretty comedic beginning with the storyline Pet Force No More, where Garfield and the gang actually give up being the Pet Force, but regain their heroic nature and save the day. Again, unfortunately, I didn't read all of these comics, and surprisingly finding scans of these are actually kind of difficult, but from what I did read, they were pretty funny, with some jokes and even a few character designs that actually gave me Darkwing Duck vibes, which makes sense, as the comics writer, Mark Evener, actually did write for Darkwing Duck. Now, as for any other adaptations, unfortunately, there's only one. Well, technically two. There was an attempt to make a Pet Force TV series, but unfortunately it never made past the promo that you can actually watch for free on YouTube. But when it comes to a proper adaptation, that wouldn't be until 2009, where we got the animated film Garfield's Pet Force, the third installment of a trilogy of 3D animated films that had a very different kind of premise for Garfield. Instead of it just simply being the story of a cat messing with his owner or going on some crazy misadventures, instead it's Garfield actually knowing he's a fictional character, living in a world full of comic strip characters, where their day-to-day job is to literally tell jokes and stand still to take pictures that they later traced to make the comic strips. It's kind of similar to Who Censored Roger Rabbit, with the only difference being that whenever they talk, beach balloons don't show up and fall on the ground everywhere. Don't forget the lack of sex and violence. Well, that too. The plot of the Pet Force movie has Garzooka and his team exist in a universe within a universe, where he starts out as a comic book character that Normal's reading, but then is revealed to actually be an existing character who travels to the comic strip universe to gain the help of Odie, Normal, and Arlene as his usual team, along with the rest of his world, have been taken over by the supervillain Vetvix, who is hell-bent on taking over both worlds with the deadly Moscram. While the real Garfield is just trying to have a relaxing day, but gets dragged in the adventure along with everyone else. It's a pretty fun movie, and they do change up a few things like Garzooka's personality. They heavily emphasize the heroic element of his character, to have Garfield be more at odds with him. The film is fine for the most part, and I do recommend checking them out if you're a fan of Garfield, but yeah, after that, that's the last we see of the character. It's kind of a shame. I thought they were pretty fun characters, and I thought the adventures were pretty solid. But after the movie, they didn't make any other appearance. But yeah, that's Garzooka. He might be lazy, he might be gluttonous, but he does have the heart of a hero. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates, and follow me on Blue Sky. Next time, we're going to be wrapping up this Garfield theme by talking about something a lot weirder, but also real. Later.